Thank you, Madam Speaker. It really is an honour to rise today and speak to Bill 203, the Long-Term Care Information Act. And our province was built on the backs of our seniors. Their hard work is the foundation of our great province, and we owe it to them to make any transition to long-term care as easy as possible. Finding somewhere for an elderly or ailing relative to stay for long-term care can be really stressful. In the spring and summer of 2016, my own dad was very ill and in the hospital. He was not able to return home again. We weren't able to provide him with the kind of care that he needed at home. So we were told by the social workers at the hospital that we would have to make a decision about what long-term care facility we would like to see him go to. And we were given a pamphlet, and that was all the information that we got. It was really difficult to try and make a decision based on a booklet from the hospital. So for those reasons, I think the bill is a really great idea. I think it'll be very helpful during what can sometimes be a really stressful situation. Now, it's not always very stressful when somebody has to go into long-term care. You may have a lot of notice about it, but if that event happens, if it is something that you have to address under stressful circumstances, I can see having a navigator, a web navigator like what's being proposed, being very helpful in those circumstances. I do have a few concerns about how the bill is written and some of the information that's being included, and I'd like to make some suggestions about regulation that could include more information that would make it easier for decision making during a stressful time. Some of the things that I think could be really helpful in including are listing languages that staff have able to speak. An elderly or, I'll just use elderly as an example, an elderly relative going into care, if they don't speak English or they don't speak English fluently, it would make a huge difference to know that they're going to a long-term care facility where staff are on hand that speak the language that they understand. Any programs that are offered, what languages are those programs offered in? Again, for the same reasons, just for familiarity and being able to participate in any programming that's available. Culturally or religiously appropriate meal choices. Do they offer kosher or halal or vegetarian meals? This can mean a lot to somebody, especially when they're ill. There's a lot of stress and having to make food choices or dietary choices that aren't in alignment with what their beliefs are can make a stressful situation even worse. And do facilities have the space for cultural or religious ceremonies, pastoral care, and what faiths are able to be accommodated? Something else that could be helpful is listing the average time from the application to a space being made available. I know that when my dad was in the hospital, we were told by the social worker to make our top 3 choices, because often what will happen is the first choice doesn't have any space available. So you have to go to your second choice, and understanding that gives a lot more context to the decision-making process. And I think it would be really very helpful in those circumstances to have that information. Also, what community services are available close by? Are there recreation facilities? Is there a park close by so the family can get out and have a picnic with their relative? What churches are close by? That kind of information can really be helpful in the decision-making process. I think a comprehensive assessment of the information that's going to be useful when people are making those decisions is imperative to the success of this kind of a site. I know from my own professional experience, going live with any kind of information site, it is really imperative to understand exactly what the needs are. I think the member has done an excellent job of identifying a lot of the needs, but to do a more full evaluation, I think that would be really useful. And I believe this was alluded to earlier. advertising it, making sure that people understand that this sort of information is available, that it's easily accessible, and that they can use it whenever they want to help make a decision, I think would go a long way to making the site a lot more successful. And finally, I just want to acknowledge the member for her compassion and her knowledge. Her professional knowledge of this situation informed her choice to create this private members bill. And as private members, we don't get a lot of opportunity to have much direct influence over legislation like this. And I just want to let her know that I think that she's done a really great job, and it's obvious that she cares a great deal about the people that she worked with prior to becoming an MLA, and I'm happy to support this bill.
The Honourable Member.